video we will discuss what to take with you when walking the dogs. So some gear for yourself, some gear for the dogs. And we will discuss both normal standard gear, but also we will discuss more situational gear. So in my opinion, first of all, some people let the dogs free, without a collar, without a leash. I'm not for that. I think you should always use a leash and collars, or at least have them with you. So the leash is there to control the dog for its own safety, but also to control it if there are other dogs or animals that you want to restrain it from. So that's a good thing. And the collars are of course the connection between the leash and the dog at one side, and on the other side also offer a little bit of protection. So what do I intend with protection? One, if you have a good collar, it protects the throat of the dog. So both from pulling at the leash, as you can see, especially on the red collar on the male. It's a hurricane collar, very broad, protects the throat from the pulling, but also if another dog would attack it, it has a little bit more protection on the vital area, because the veins are very close to the coat there. The female has a leather collar, a lot smaller, a lot less wide, but also a lot less wide of a neck. And females are very often, not always, but less quarrelsome than males are. So that gives you a little bit of feedback. The little chain in between is a chain that combines two collars on one line. So that's very handy if you have two dogs or even more and that you want to have one hand free. You can use this span and still control them. I did it a little bit more alternatively because the hurricane collar has such a thick D ring that it does not allow to directly connect the chain on it, as you can see here very clearly. Another thing to consider is the line. I use a police line, as they say, which has multiple buckles, which you can adjust the length of the line with. I also carry little sachets, and those are for if the dog has excrements, you can clean them up and keep it tidy. But the other thing that you see here is a stinger that can be used to either pry open a jaw or to put some stimulation on, for example, an animal that is attacking your dog without hurting it too badly. So you have just a little stinger, as the name implies, and this stinger is even, I made it less acute, so it will do less concentrated force amplification. Just a very mild situation there. And with the guard, as you can see here, you can also protect your hand a little bit more. I have a little bit of rope around it to secure the stinger, but also this can come in handy if you have to secure the dog or something else breaks and you have to make a collar from that when, for example, the collar has been lost or something else happens. You have something to do, and you can also use it to secure a straight dog. And that could be a good thing that you have an additional way to do that. So with me I carry some additional bags, the sachets for the excrements. Once this one is empty, I still have another one. Also on the line I have one additional for quick release, so that's beneficial. Always carry good shoes, I recommend that. I'm not saying that you cannot do it on bad shoes, but this makes it a lot more pleasant. And a pants that is not that dandy, so if other dogs approach you and stand up against you, this is not going to ruin your pants, so that's a good thing. A good jacket is also a good thing because it protects you against the elements, and if you have dogs you go out in good weather, but also dogs and cats weather. If it's raining dogs and cats. Also I have with me a little brake stick. I will show you this later. This is a stick that you can use to open up the jaws of a dog that is reluctant to open its jaws, for example, to release the ball, or when they get in a quarry with another animal and they are reluctant to release. It's especially a good thing to have with breeds that have a little bit of Molosser or Bull Terrier blood in them. The smaller the dogs that you have a little bit of different needs in sturdidity, but also in the size to make it fit the jaws. An additional thing that you can do to make a dog release is of course suffocate it. This is a thing that has quite a lot of risks, whereas the break stick does not have that risk that much. If not used improperly, it almost has no risk, because if you use them properly you can stick it somewhere in the top layer of the mouth and cause some damage, but if you use it properly you just use it to pry open the jaw without any danger at all. So that's a good thing to have with you, especially if you have dogs who have a little bit more temperament. You can also use this little one, but that's less good at starting because it is quite wide to begin with, but it can be useful nevertheless. That are the main attributes that you can use. If you look at the coat that you have, you can also beanie on your head, so to protect you a little bit. It's easy with a beanie that you can just put it on the heating again, even when it's soaked, and it will be dry and ready for the next turn. Also, if you have a coat with a hoodie, this is perfect as well, as you can see. So some examples. I also recommend for your clothing not too light coloration, because if you have very light coloration you will find it oftentimes dirty. So that being said, I already mentioned a lot, but if you go for larger walks I recommend to bring something to eat for yourself, but also for the dogs, and something to drink. Normal water is the best normally, and you also have solutions that have a little bit of drinking bowl attached. This could be helpful to not waste water. Additional things could be that you have a little bit of first aid kit. That's especially when you're hunting a bigger factor. But then it's also good to have a collar that you can locate the dogs, especially when they go underground, so you see where they are. And also you have protective vests, especially against walk hunting. That being said, you also have some additional things that can be handy, but are very situational. You could use an anchor that you can press into the grass and secure it even when there are no trees. The easy of a police line like this, that you have ample opportunities to tie it down, but even a standard line can be, of course, knotted, so to secure it. But when you're in an open field, it's nice that you have an anchor that you can press into the field. Please test it and also put some strain on it. If it is sufficient, you also have anchors that you can use on tables for quick release, but those are not that much needed, because you always are able to secure the leash in other ways to the table. I think those are the main things to take into consideration when you go for a dog show. Of course, or test of the dog's utility. I would always recommend also taking a bench and some sheets with you to secure it from sun, especially so that the dogs do not get overheated when you're in an open field. And you have no protection against the elements, especially the sun, but also the blankets can help a little bit against rain and wind. So that's something to take into consideration as well. But normally you don't take this when you're going for a walk, of course. I hope this helps. Have a great day. So how to deal with dominant type of dogs and to prevent escalation with other dominant dogs. So first of all, put it on a leash. That way you have a means to control the dog and keep it away. Also use a good collar. That has two benefits. First of all, it secures. This one has double needles going through and also double stitches. So that's very good and very secure. This is made out of how do you say, it's a secure belt, so that you secure you in the case of a crash. You can also do it the other way around. or have it in addition. You can do something that the dogs really likes. If they have prey drive, you can use a ball to get their attention to another direction. And once it does escalate, you have two things what you can do. The less recommended one is that you can use the line, the leash, to control the air and therefore dictate the dog to release. Or a far better option is using a braking stick, also known as a brake stick, so it doesn't break the dog, doesn't break its jaws, it just breaks the grip. So it's put into from the side into the jaw like that, and then you twist it without touching the top of the mouth or the bottom, so that you do not perforate it with this side, but you just twist it, and by twisting it you make more space, and then you can pull it out to release the dog again. So this is a braking stick. This one is used made from a sort of plastic that is not too soft but also not too hard, so you don't damage the teeth that easily. It also does not splinter. You can use this with this the string that you can use it to secure it around your neck or put it somewhere in your coat. You can also use a lot smaller one for a dog, like a Patterdale Terrier, and also less thick. This is more of an all-round braking stick that you can use for Bull and Terriers, like American Staffordshire Terrier, Staffordshire Bull Terrier, American Pitbull Terrier, English Bull Terrier, but also for Malinois and Mastiffs and the likes, and Rottweilers, etc. But the thing is, especially with a non-Bull and Terrier, very people-friendly dogs, you have to make sure that the dog does not bite you once you release it. And with Bull and Terrier breeds, this is often not so much of a big deal. Hope this helps. Have a great day. Bye bye. Today we will talk about braking sticks, but before doing that, it's important to know why you use a braking stick. So here you see my male. When he should release but he does not release, you insert here the braking stick from the side, and then you twist it to open the brake. So open the, how do you say it, the mouth, the jaw, so he can release his grip. And why is it important? Because if you have a dog that doesn't want to release his grip, but you need to make him release his grip, it's nice that you have a tool to do so. And there comes the braking stick. So my first braking stick was a little bit like this one, but from wood. I got it from a friend, who also got it from a friend. And that's a good way to start. After a while I thought it would be better to go for a braking stick that's made of a certain type of plastic. So this plastic is hard enough to be used as a prying tool, but also soft enough that it doesn't compromise the teeth, so it does not damage them. So in general you see that braking sticks have a little bit of slope, and then they're also oftentimes a lot wider than they are high, as you can see here. So this one I got from the States, specifically for American Pitbull Terriers, Bulldogs and the likes, and it's very capable. As you can see also when you put your hand on it, you still have decent room to also to steer away from danger, so you have room between the jaws and your hand. Also an important thing to note is that here you see a ruler. This is in centimeters to give you a little bit of overview of size. To keep into consideration that especially bully type breeds that are very people friendly are good to be managed with a braking stick. Malinois and other shepherd breeds are also, the braking stick has been introduced and to great success, but it's a bigger danger. And why is that? Because they are less stable, to say. They will bite multiple times, whereas normally an American Pitbull Terrier, for example, will bite and hold on. And if you look at the braking stick, how it functions, illustrate. So if this is the jaw of the dog, and normally it has of course the canines on the on the end, but just focus on the jaw where I said you could insert it. So you don't insert it like this, you insert it like this. And the best way is that you can breach both sides of the jaw, so that you don't pressure only one side, but in an emergency you can also use one side. It's worse for the dog, of course. But be aware that you can also pry with one side. You will put more stress on one side of the jaw, which is not as good as to divide it more equally on both sides, of course. But sometimes you might not be able or have some trouble to get it in the right direction, especially if it's very intense and you cannot control your emotions or the emotion of your environment. But back to the breaking stick, so it goes in like that, and because it's so thin it will easily slide in there. And then it will be used like a demolition type of pry bar and open it up. So you put it in as far as possible, not stab the top of the jaw because you can damage it here. So slide it in gently and then twist it. And what happens, you can see it here, the jaw has to open up once you twist it. So that gives you a little bit of more of insight. Back to the breaking sticks. So these two, and you see also the size are quite big, approximately 30 centimeters or even a little bit over. This is a specific, so this has been made by the enthusiast from good plexiglass type, then put into shape. Also got quite sturdy. This has a little bit more of a acute point, and that's a good thing in some consideration. We'll come back to that later. You can also see you can put some laces on it to put it around your neck or somewhere else. This is a good thing that you can easily carry it. This has some things that you can adjust it to your back or to your wrist so you don't release the grip. This also has a very nice handle, very soft. So this is more of a luxury version, so to say. But the benefit of this more pointier edge is that when you have smaller breeds like Patterdale Terriers, which are significantly smaller than American Pitbull Terriers, let alone Bulldogs, American Bulldogs, that you can still have an easy access because it is not that, it's more acute, so it's not that broad. The benefit of a more broader type is that it is harder to bite through, especially by more powerful breeds. So keep that into consideration. Back to the topic of small, you also want any tool that you have. They say this like with pocket knives. What is the best pocket knife? The one you have on you. So if you have a big tool like this, it's quite hard to always take with you. It can be done, but it's quite cumbersome. Are you happy to see me, or is it your break stick, etc. But if you have a smaller breed like a Patterdale Terrier, and I use this brief opener, and I cut away the edges, so this is a wooden brief opener, and I think this could be a good prying tool for Patterdale Terriers. I think it might be even better if I would cut it back through this, and then you have an even smaller one, but then you have also quite some room that you lose on your hand, because for the handle this will be a good grip, that you have a little bit overhang. I also drilled a little hole so I can put a cable to it, but this is easy to be put in your jacket, in one of the front pockets. Like that, it slips right in. And of course you can also carry it the other way around. That would be easier for grabbing, but then it will stab this fabric. Also in my jacket I have it pointed outwards, so in the inner jacket. So also if you bend over, it doesn't stab you. It's not a stabbing tool, of course, but it's not completely in an emergency. With a lot of stress put upon it, of course, also penetrate you a little bit or cause harm to your ribs, for example, which you do not like. This tool, I think, could be sufficient. I will try it out once I have to. Of course, you will not always have to. Normally, most of the time, you will not use the tool, but it's good to have, especially when something goes wrong and two dogs are fighting and you have trouble to release them from each other. Then of course it's easy that you can release at least your own dog, and also for legal reasons. But you can also make one yourself. So this was made of plexiglass by someone else. And I found a smaller piece of plexiglass here, which I thought could be used also as a tool, but it's a little bit less optimal. As you can see, it's a lot thicker. Yeah, like 3 times or more the thickness. I think 3 times. But it's also a little bit narrow, and the narrower part I like because there's less room in the Patterdale between the different molars, so that's a good thing. But also the slope is a lot higher, so the starting point is quite comparable, as you can see here. But I think this could be a good tool. I will also put it to the test and perhaps narrow it down a little bit more and more until it fits what I want. Also, the drawback as compared to this design is that this fits the hand nicer. This is also a nice fit because it is more of a handle, more of a broom handle, but the edges are of course more acute. But I also filed those down so that it feels nicer to grip. It's a nice material to work with because it is soft enough, and also when you do the work, you just see the discoloration happening in the process, so you see that it's working. So what would I recommend? This is the type I would recommend for most owners. Only if you have a very strong biting dog, this could be a better one. I don't know if they still make them, but you can make them yourself, as I did with this one. I also put a little bit of grip insert here that is easier to pull back if needed, so that it's not as slippery, especially starting the purchase. And the benefit of these as compared to the others, that you have more room between yourself and the jaw, and particularly if you also have to put another dog off, and therefore I thought this could still be a good design. But if you don't have access for it, this will not be sufficient for a strong dog. It will completely rip it. I think the Patterdales will even rip it, and once they do, I will file it down to a smaller version that's even more pocket friendly. As you can see, I also took down the edges on this side so that it is as least intrusive as possible, but I can imagine once it breaks I will stop it like this at this point and just use that part as a breaking stick, and then fiddle my hand so that I get at least 2-finger grip, and that could be sufficient to work at least one part of the jaw of the Patterdale Terrier. Another thing, you could use wedges, but I recommend using plastic wedges, not aluminium, because of course far too hard. And plastic can be very lightweight, as you can see here with these drilled holes, but the benefit is that they don't splinter like the wooden ones do. So if you take this and then file off the edges like that you have a less intrusive design. I also filed them off. This one is harder to see, but if you look closely, I don't make acute points, so that once you in an accident hit the upper side of the jaw, that you don't go through it and don't damage it. But this could be an easy budget friendly option. For your ease of carry, of course, I would recommend to file the signs down as I did with this one, and to make it less acute, and also the points. But this could be a good option, and also it has holes already, so you don't have to drill them. You can put a little bit of lace to it, and you have a very good breaking stick that you can easily make yourself, and it's not costly. So hope this helps. Hope this helps to give you a little bit more insight, and also in an emergency situation you might be very thankful that you watched this video. Have a great day. I'm out. Good morning. And this morning we will discuss some items that might prove handy but are not necessarily for walking the dogs, but will offer additional comfort and also have other use. So one thing to consider is a beanie. So something that you can put over your head to keep you warm, because especially being a dog owner, you will be out day in, day out. Also when it rains, also when it's cold. Same can be said about gloves. So gloves can protect your hands against the cold, but also when, for example, you have to retrieve your dog when he's in the brambles, this is a good source of protection. Same with the beanie. If you have to put your head in a more sticky situation, then it's good that you can have part of it protected. A scarf is also very handy. It can keep your neck warm if necessary, but can also be used if you have a good quality scarf. That once your dog is injured or something like that, that you can carry it in it. You can also make a makeshift leash out of it if you have a good quality scarf and the dog is not extremely strong. Another thing to consider for that purpose is a belt. So just a regular leather belt can be used to make a makeshift leash. Also when there are stray dogs or dogs of owners that you know, breaking free and roaming about and putting themselves into danger. That's a good way to approach that. Another thing to consider is in your keychain you can have this very small flute that can be used to carry over your voice for a longer distance. So for example, a retriever dog is a great tool. Other things that some people carry around are very light first help, medical kits. This can be a benefit or not so much of a benefit. I think it's a nice thing to have. It doesn't take too much space, but I'm not wearing those medical kits with me all the time. Of course not. But a thing that can be easy to take with you is a small tweezer. The small tweezer can be used to take out of glass of the paws of the dogs once encountered, or bramble needles, but also can be used to remove ticks, etc. So quite a handy tool to have with you, and it weighs nothing. So that I would recommend. Pencil items, clothing sometimes even will help you consider them. Another thing, if you have good quality gloves and you are in the situation you can put them on to separate two dogs, that's a good thing, because sometimes people lose part of their hands when a dog attacks their hand instead of the other dog, and that glove will help you keep all the ligaments together. So I'm not saying that this is your purpose. If you knew that from the start, you would probably not intervene that easily. But sometimes things happen, and a good quality glove can help you with that. Have a great day.